starts in shambolic fashion. Welcome back, you legends. Hey, it's nice to see you.
That was a tough start. That was a tough start. And I blame the. I mean, if anybody, I don't realise we're a radio session, but for those of you that may be watching at home, the size of the sheet of paper, giving you that I've been given.
I mean, it's like you put the postcode lottery, isn't it?
It looks bigger in my hand. But this isn't just a normal.
It's just a normal
It's a normal
sheet.
sheet of paper.
Everyone says I knew it was all scripted. It's all fake. Everything is fake. Anyway, so here we are. It's nice to see you. I'm sure everybody who hosts a show on Talksport from that view, we're in a new studio. Like it matters. If you're driving a van around Warrington, it's irrelevant to you. But I have unplugged something. But if I can ask one big favour, and I'm not casting aspersions on any other presenters, but if somebody could turn GB News off, I would really appreciate it. I don't need that many Union Jacks and George's Crosses and people moaning about immigrants. That is not this show. Everybody is welcome on this show. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do, how you identify. You're all welcome. Please turn that rubbish off. These go-getters are not understand it, says Rob. What a shambles, says Gary.
I gave it a go. I blame the scripting.
Absolutely right, listen. I think all you can do is put yourself, but people don't understand that actually that bit of this programme, it's the hardest bit. You've just done 3 days of Paul Walks, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. The guy's so good, you can just sit there. This is actually, you actually have to work.
I feel like I've done 3 days' work in about 2 minutes then.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. I'm sweating.
Good news for you is that I have to do the rest. Which is a bit annoying for me. But anyway, look, shall I say what's coming up on this programme? I mean, just the same old stuff. We sat there, we had 5 weeks off because of the Lions. Thanks very much, Lions, for doing all that running around and all the people who went to Australia to, get absolutely wasted and drink wee out of shoes. But we're back now with football, which is good, and we will look back at the championship and that handball, which, honestly, football is dead. I don't want to sound, the game's gone. I don't want to sound like that guy, but football is dead, guys. So we'll do that. Someone wants to join us, and we're looking ahead to the championship. How tall are they? The knockouts begin. This is the last 16.
We're getting down to the mids and onions now.
This is the mids and onions. It's due to finish late 2027. But it is it's a big game today. We'll do some transfer tittle-tattle. Of course, we'll do a two-word phone in. Always time for time if it's Ian Dancer is back. Because he left us in the summer. It's like it didn't mean anything to him.
Yeah, everyone needs a pre-season. They need a bit of time off, don't you, after a long hard season?
It's like he cares more about work he's paid for. Than the favour that he does. Anyway, you are listening to the Game Warm-Up. It's Matt Russian, Alex Brooker, and we are here till midday.
It's a big match day, and Coral's reward shaker has turned roll. The guaranteed wins today. Oh, a big win for the Group Chat tipsters. Super tips, super-sized free bets. And that's a golden shake for the Bulkhead fanatics. A £10 cash prize to match those number 10 shirts. Play Coral's free golden reward shaker for bigger guaranteed football rewards. Coral, we're here for it.
18 plus UK match one reward offer per player per day. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Golden Shaker available on selected dates. Reward restrictions and T's and C's apply. Gambleware.org.
I've never driven electric before, but wow, MG's EV range blew me away. When I heard I could save up to £2,500, I was sold. Combining the MG EV car grant and £1,000 test drive discount, save up to £2,500 on a brand new MG EV from MG, Autocar's best manufacturer 2025. Book your test drive today at mg.co.uk. Registered by September 30th. Includes £1,000 test drive discount plus £1,500 EV car grant. Retail and Infinity customers only. Excludes service during MG IM range.
Big summer can't get any better. It just did with Deliveroo's new Freshness Promise. Your fresh and chilled groceries are covered to give you peace of mind. Enjoy freshness or your money back. So whether you're grilling sausages and taking to the garden or refilling the fridge with milk and more after your holiday, look out for the Freshness Promise badge in the Deliveroo app today. Now just for even better. Selected partners and items only. See badging at geographical restrictions, fees and C's apply. See delivery.co.uk and FAQs.
Turn on NordVPN. It will help you avoid digital threats and will encrypt your online traffic too. Visit nordvpn.com now. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
When your kid's favourite toy starts to run out of battery power, no need to worry. Your new batteries are already on their way, arriving today with Prime. Everyday essentials delivered fast. It's on Prime. Cut off Times and T's and C's apply. See product page when ordering.
Great result. Thanks, Peter. Coming up, we have league action live on Friday night, followed by 3 more games live on Saturday, then 2 more massive games live on Sunday, and don't forget league action live on Monday night. Then it's over to Europe for the big one live on Tuesday, then the even bigger one live on Wednesday. Then it's the other European competition.
Sometimes a break isn't a bad idea. So, if ever you want to take time out from betting, use Paddy Power's Take a Break tool to pause your account. Paddy Power. Easy plus together with
Draw sport traffic. In County Durham, on the northbound side of the A1M at junction 62 for Carville, an accident means the exits are blocked, which is causing a delay. Then there's better news on the northbound side of the A1M in North Yorkshire. It's been open now following the accident investigation work between junction 50 for Ripon and junction 51 for Lynn Bar. And in Staffordshire, still queuing on the northbound side of the M6, approaching the closure between junction 14 for Stafford North and 15 for Stoke-on-Trent, following last night's overturned lorry. The southbound side also still has the outside lane closed. I'm Michael Page.
Vodafone's new customer service is a little bit different. It's called Just Ask Once. Message them on the Vodafone app. You deal with one person, and they keep you updated until it's sorted, so you can get on with your day. What is there? Just Ask Once. Customer service made easy from Vodafone, the nation's network.
Available via my Vodafone app. Messaging service only. Exclusions apply. Vodafone UK, supporting the nation since 1984. More details, vodafone.co.uk/network.
The new season is here. Saturday afternoon, live championship football on Talksport 2.
Sheffield United versus Bristol City.
Absolutely magnificent.
Bristol 5. Kick-off
5:30. Saturday afternoon on the dynamic and dependable football service. Talksport 2. Kick it.
The championship is one of the wonders of the football world, and it could be the most competitive season ever.
We were playing against a really, really strong team, possibly the favourites, and I thought we were the better team.
Reads it all, gets it at this. Kieran off the keeper, and it's in. But the referee is disallowed.
This is not a Premier League game, this is the Championship. There's more physicality, and that should be a goal. Birmingham have been the better side. You would think that Birmingham City with a team that have just got down from the Premier League, more dominant, keeping the ball.
Kieran to be in here. He is in. He's tipped the keeper off the post. Stands clear. The first goal of the new championship season.
And at the end, they pushed and got fortunate really with a referee decision, but
And the referee has pointed to the spot. And Ipswich have a penalty in stoppage time. What drama in the championship? George Hurst to bring Ipswich back on level terms. Big deep breath, short runner, right footing, and he drills it down the middle and in. And Ipswich have salvaged a point.
Touchdown last night. Birmingham 1, Ipswich 1. Joe Sherman and Shorty has a good commentary team. It's Max and Max Ross and Alex Brooker here with you on the game day warm-up. Let's look back at that game and look ahead to the first day of the championship season with that EFL expert Simon Watts. Hey Simon.
Max, how you doing? Good to see you in the studio.
Yeah, thanks very much for welcoming back to this country. Look, let's start with that handball. So I don't know what the law is anymore. I've repeated myself. It doesn't matter what level it is, and it doesn't matter whether it's injury time and it costs Birmingham 2 points or it's the 5th minute of a Champions League game or whatever. How football has got to a stage where that is a handball is, and I hate to think I'm a grey-haired middle-aged man, despite being a grey-haired middle-aged man. I just don't know if anybody wants that to be a penalty. Who loves football? I just can't see it, Simon.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think if you were a supporter of either side, you'd probably have quite different views of it. It seemed incredibly harsh. I mean, how are you going to get your arms out of the way of that one? I suppose the one thing in mitigation Ipswich will say is his arm were up in the first place, but it did seem incredibly harsh. And of course, it would have been a perfect start to the season for Birmingham City. It's the first of 2 games this weekend between a relegated and promoted team. It was a controversial decision, and obviously a few events afterwards that were a little bit unsavoury as well. But what an atmosphere at St Andrews last night, and I think looking at the performance against Ipswich, if it does one thing, it reaffirms that Birmingham, quite rightly, are the third favourites to be involved in the top 2 this season.
I don't know what you think, Alex. I mean, I just think now, because those handballs are given to us, and you're so tribal, you want it for your team. So we've lost all perspective and stuff. There are people now who go, no, that is a handball.
I don't know what the handball rule is anymore. I don't like the phrase arm. As someone whose arms are always in a natural position, I don't like that phrase coming into football. It's but the other decision in it was the Furuhashi goal that was disallowed as well. So I don't know what you made of that, but that didn't look like a foul either.
No, it was difficult, wasn't it? There were one or two decisions that I think Birmingham will feel a little bit hard done by, and look, Ipswich just didn't really turn up. And I think Kieran McKenna was pretty blunt about that in his post-match analysis as well. That penalty that they converted in stoppage time, their first effort on target in the entire game, so they'd have been expecting a little bit more. I just look at the overall performance from Birmingham City and take out the controversies, and obviously they've spent quite a lot of money to get their squad into the position they have, like Kyogo himself, 10 million quid from Rennes, more than a lot of teams in the Championship are spending. I think they'll be alright this year. I do think they'll be alright.
Yeah, I mean, it was such an instinctive finish from Kyogo Furuhashi, wasn't it? It was so brilliant, and it would have made the game more interesting because then suddenly Birmingham take the lead early, and as you said, the atmosphere was great there. It's interesting. We've got commentary of Southampton Wrexham today, and Wrexham and Birmingham had some similar stories despite being different sized clubs and different celebrity owned. And so I heard Jonathan Wilson make a really interesting point. And I don't want to give Jonathan Wilson that much credit, but it was interesting about where these clubs go, specifically with Wrexham, right? Because this documentary is interesting, okay, and it's good while something is happening, right? While they get promoted, they buy new, old, tall centre forwards and keep them all this time, and then it stays being interesting. But at the time they hit whatever their ceiling is for a club of that size, whether that is playoffs in the Championship, whether it is 16th in the Premier League, the documentary stops being interesting. And then what happens? I mean, I suppose if you're a Wrexham fan, you go, look, I just enjoy this right instead of just being absolutely incredible. But it's an interesting thing to think about with the documentaryization of football, if that's a thing, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting you mentioned this because for a couple of seasons I worked on the Salford City documentary, and I see parallels in what the producers are probably thinking here because we followed their journey from nowhere into the Football League, but of course they're still every year when you're kind of then and as you say, hitting that glass ceiling. For as much as for Wrexham they spent a lot of money this summer, I think in Championship terms they've got a lot of experienced players in. I just cannot see them being any more than mid-table at best this season. Not Cody, Kiefer Moore, Josh Windass, all really experienced good players, but you're talking about a level where you've got teams coming down with vastly greater resources, and particularly the Phil Parkinson has done a great job obviously to get through the league. Tactically it's just very different as well, I think, in the Championship. But half of that squad of the players that got into where they are quite where they are as well. Quite really up to it. You've got a lot of skills, low players in there. Interesting actually, Phil Parkinson goes back to Southampton. The two released in the 1980s alongside Chris Wilder. Both youth team players let go but gone on to have good careers as players and managers. And Southampton, totally different set of circumstances here. Phil Parkinson over 1,000 games as manager, will still taking charge at 32 years of age of his first game in English football. What several actually young British managers, you've got Ryan Mason at West Brom as well, involved in the Championship this year. We've seen 11 managerial changes this summer, but actually 16 of the 24 Championship clubs are managed by British managers. So often there's talk of the cosmopolitan led to the Championship, but actually this year we've probably got more British managers starting this season than we've had in the last few seasons.
And I know obviously a lot of the eyes are on Wrexham to see how they do in the Championship with all the story around them. But for Southampton, so I mean they had a really tough season last year. Lost a lot of games. For them, how difficult do you think it'll be to kind of get themselves, back into that winning mentality? Because on paper they should be one of the favourites for promotion again.
Yeah, and they've been there before. You see other teams coming down. They're having the same conversation about Burnley, I think, last year, and Leicester when they came down 2 years ago. And Championship, and the difference is quite vast. So I'm not quite sure with Southampton yet. The biggest thing is keeping hold of some of their key assets now because they've already lost the likes of Aaron Ramsdale, Sulemana, Bennett, etc. Cole Walker-Peters. Tyler Dibley isn't in the squad today, apparently. And if that's the case, and if that proves to be the case, then that's another young player who's been linked with Everton, among others, who could be really important to them. But I still look through their squad. I don't know a great deal about Damien Downs and Josh Kouachi, their new time at West Brom, but there was a proven player who's a 20-plus season striker in the Championship, which are very hard to come by. They've still got him, so if they can find a way to get him scoring again, then that's one signing you don't need to worry about making. So I do think Southampton will be strong this year, particularly when you look at Leicester as one of the contenders, but we just don't know they can have a 12-point deduction in a few months' time. I think Southampton have got to really fancy their chances, you would say.
You mentioned Ryan Mason there, and that's an interesting appointment, isn't it, from West Brom? Because we just have no idea. He's served under very varied coaches at Tottenham, hasn't he? And whether, if you could take all the best bits of, I don't know when he started, but probably Jose, Conte, and Ange. I don't know what football that is, but it'd be quite interesting to see what kind of type of football he wants to play.
Absolutely, I think he could be really, really exciting. He's crazy. He's 34 years of age. Yeah, it seemed quite a long time ago that he was in caretaker charge at Tottenham at Wembley when he led them out in the League Cup final. But he's been coaching there for 7 years, as you say. And I think West Brom fans are just desperate to see probably somebody go back to the Carlos Corberán way, because it just didn't work out when they went for the experience of Tony Mowbray last season. But the problem I think with West Brom is that financially they're just not quite at the level of a lot of the teams around them. They've been down in the Championship for a few seasons now, so it gets tougher with each and every year. But you think he's going to be well connected. He'll use the loan market very well. I think it's every cause to be excited this year. At least he's somebody who spent a lot of his time playing in the Championship and is well connected. So I think West Brom is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on this year. I'm into those 11 managerial changes, and it really is such a varied Championship this year as well. When you look at some of the other managers knocking around there, like Gerhard Struber at Bristol City, who replaced Liam Manning, went to his hometown club Norwich City. A great experience with Barnsley in the Championship. Ruben Sayers gets sacked by Hull City, then he takes the Sheffield United job, going from one end of the table to the other, and then Hull replacing him with Sergei Yakirovic in their quest for playing this kind of dream style of football that their owner Akimi Akali wants, but hasn't really happened since they got rid of Lira Senior. So many kind of subplots and stories there as well. Marty Cifuentes going into Leicester from QPR, but a totally different set of circumstances. And then Henrik Pedersen at Price's club Sheffield Wednesday, not the ex-Bolton player Henrik Pedersen, but their former assistant, who never really had a managerial career at all. So you really got to fear for Sheffield Wednesday unless they can find new owners.
We'll look ahead to some of those teams and some of the games as well. Simon Watts with me and Charlie. It's interesting you mentioned Gerhard Schröder, the former Chancellor of Germany from 2000, what was he, 98 to 2005. He's now the Bristol City manager. It's an interesting move for him, isn't it? But good luck, Gerhard. Anyway, it's Max and Alex Brooker, and with you until midday. Simon Watts with us when we get to the start of the Championship season of the year.
Whether you're screaming from the stands or the sofa, Virgin Bet has even more for you to shout about this season. Because we're giving you a totally free bet builder on any Sunday football match every week this season. Virgin Bet, a good bet. Use bet builder free bet on any match this Sunday, min-odds, evens, max one free bet, £1 to £20, except via pop-up. T's and C's apply. Bet responsibly. Gambleaware.org. 18 plus.
Just drop me off around the corner. There's a phrase no parent wants to hear, especially when it's about your car. So upgrade to a new 75-plate electric model you'll love to be seen in at the BYD Back to School sales event. From the 15th to the 25th of August, enjoy up to £1,100 off selected BYD models, plus a complimentary service. Visit your local BYD retailer and make the school run electric. T's and C's apply.
Direct Line's flexible business cover means I only pay for the cover I need. That's how it's done. Imagine if that's how everything got done. Like dominating the pub quiz.
Question: what is the population of Mongolia?
3,537,947.
Well, it was in, now they want to go back in.
Absolutely correct. This week's winner is none of your business.
Direct Line. That's how it's done. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Rob.
Nice day.
Lovely. Busy?
Very. Still on site.
Still there.
What are you after?
Usual. Anything else? Plastic. Nylon. 1 pack. 2. Got you. Cheers. 2 ticks. Fine. Thanks. Wife well? Yes, thank you. Sorry. You won't know. See ya.
You're too busy to mess around. So we're right behind you at over 580 stations nationwide to get you sorted sharpish.
Next stop,
This season, LiveScore Bets is bringing you more ways to win with our weekly promotions. Take VAR payout where we settle goal scorer markets on Premier League matches as winners even if the goal is chalked off by VAR. This applies to both singles and bet builder legs because LiveScore Bets love rewarding goals, not taking them away. Don't let the review get in the way of you celebrating. LiveScore Bets, total betting. Pre-match single, multi or bet builder bets on selected player markets on English Premier League only. Paid as a winner if goal is ruled out by VAR. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Talk Sport News.
Morning, all. You are listening to the Game Day Warm-Up on TalkSport. Matt Rushton and Alex Brooker with you until midday. After us, Adrian Durham presents live from St Mary's. Is he at St Mary's? I'm going to find out where he is, actually. All the goals, they go into the AFL. We've got commentary from St Mary's at Southampton Wrexham at 12:30. Game Day live, of course, at 2:30. Coventry Hull live on TalkSport 2 as well. All covered on the opening day of the Championship, EFL League 1, League 2, of course. Including Cambridge United's big win at Swindon later. We'll keep you, I don't know how much coverage they're giving, but they should give it a lot.
Thank you, Max. Good morning. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will not give up land to Russia as part of any deal to end the war. His comments come after it was announced Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will hold a ceasefire talks in Alaska this Friday coming. Australia, Germany, Italy and New Zealand have joined the UK in condemning Israel's plans to expand its military operation in Gaza. In a joint statement, they say the move risks violating international humanitarian law. The British Medical Association is concerned about the number of female doctors taking extra work in bars and as taxi drivers to make ends meet. It says students from poorer backgrounds have been affected the most and facing a recurring cycle of debt. And protests are expected to continue outside hotels housing asylum seekers later. Demonstrators are expected to gather in towns and cities including Birmingham, Bristol, Liverpool and Nuneaton.
Talk Sport with Bostic. If you're looking for professional grade sealers that offer technologically advanced performance, choose Bostic Pro Sealers.
Manchester United have officially announced the signing of Benjamin Sesko, who will be unveiled at Old Trafford in front of fans attending their pre-season game against Fiorentina.
It's another massive day of football action here on TalkSport. So let's take a quick look at today's pedigree lineup. We hit the midfield now. Bruno Fernandes, Jack Grealish, and St. Bernardo Silva. Best in show football coverage on the radio station that's the absolute dog. Superb tackle. Let's have a look who's up front. And the legendary Louise Parler. Scratch and sniff finger. Sport. And finally, their gaffer, Guardiola. Football hits up on the wall.
Hello, Andrew. It's a new studio. It makes you feel like, you just gotta forget how to talk sometimes. That's fine. It's Max Rushton and Alex Brooker with you until midday. In the company of the NFL expert Simon Watts, looking ahead to the opening weekend of the Championship. Of course, Ipswich with that dodgy penalty last minute to get an equaliser at Birmingham. Can we talk about Sheffield Wednesday side? And obviously, most fans up and down the country, whatever level it is, Premier League down to whatever step, are just worried about who they're going to sign and constantly refreshing gossip pages. But for if you are a Sheffield Wednesday fan, Morecambe fan as well, you are worried. It's an existential worry you have. And the fact that this week, we didn't know if they'd even be able to fulfil this fixture just shows what a state they are in and how little control fans actually have over their football club.
Absolutely, and it's every fan's worst nightmare, isn't it? Really, you get new owners coming in, you don't know a great deal about them a lot of the time, and you place your entire trust in them as custodians of the football club. And I know it's their personal money, their personal fortune going into the club a lot of the time, but that's what they are, custodians, because, unless they're a lifelong fan, then, the fans will always be longer, they're longer than the players, the manager, and the owners. But, I was at Hillsborough at the back end of last season watching my team Oxford, actually, and, it just hits home when you go to Hillsborough, what a massive football club they are. Memories of FA Cup semi-finals being hosted there when I was a kid growing up, and, they have not long been back in the Championship, and they're never a kind of weird story away. Whether it's a couple of years ago, Darren Moore getting sacked months from getting them promoted or whatever, but this is a whole different ballgame. Not paying staff and players over the whole of the summer, situation where not just the players but the manager himself can walk out of the football club. And what it leaves them in is a situation where they're just absolutely decimated. Other than Barry Bannon, who's kind of at the stage of his career where he's able to commit to the club, pretty much everyone else who's worth anything it is gone or will go. And as things stand, Ron Jantieri doesn't seem in a hurry to sell the football club. He's absent, he's not there at matches, so he doesn't have to cop the personal flag, but it's an incredibly difficult situation. Sheffield Wednesday struggles, he knows it was just to stay in the Championship anyway. But this is a whole lot more, obviously, than staying in the league. I think any Sheffield Wednesday fan would bite your hand off at the chance to be in League One next year with new owners if they have the opportunity and go again as they've done before. But as things stand at the moment, they're in an absolute mess. And, it's a bad start to the season for them as well because they're away at Leicester on Sunday.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but my understanding is I don't know if a regulator would make any difference because when Chancellor came in, he had money and he has pumped lots of money in, and so there's this hope that a regulator will come in and will change fit and proper persons test, which you can be pretty dodgy even past that, going by who owns football clubs in this country, but it seems like you are just beholden. Somebody wants to buy a football club and they have money. When it runs out, or they decide they don't want to put the money in, and then they don't want to sell, or they set too ridiculous a price. I don't know. Do you know if a regulator would make a difference in this situation? You might now, but at the time when he bought the club.
I really don't. His defence would be actually I have pumped quite a lot of money into the club at times, and once upon a time under Ron Jantieri, they were knocking on the door of the playoffs. But I think where maybe a regulator could make a difference, and I don't know the ins and outs. Obviously, it's a very technical issue, but just speaking as a fan from a common sense point of view, if there's a way of putting money into, say, a trust for the club when you buy the club, or some kind of side pocket where if the money runs out or you leave, at least there is a pot of money that's available to, at the very least, the very bare minimum, pay the staff, which ultimately they're the ones you feel for. The people who've been at the football club for generations, they're fans of the club, they work probably for less money than they would get if they went and worked somewhere else because they love the football club, and they're the ones who really suffer in situations like this because most modern day footballers could afford to pay the bills for a few months. That's not the case for the people often working within a football club, and that's where it really hits the local community, and it's just not fair. Again, I don't know the absolute ins and outs of Sheffield Wednesday's situation. Sometimes people genuinely do just run out of money. It seems from the outside looking in, this is more a bit of a bloody-minded sort of somebody who's fallen out with the fans over a sustained period of time and has just decided enough is enough. But at the same time, you would think Sheffield Wednesday are quite an attractive proposition for potential investors. I was looking at over a third of the EFL is under American ownership now. Football clubs in England, particularly ones with a history and tradition of Sheffield Wednesday, should be attractive propositions. But at the moment, either there are no buyers, or maybe Chancellori's in no rush to sell. But then it begs the question, who's going to win in a situation like this? And the answer clear: nobody. Nobody's going to win.
So one of the, you mentioned Barry Bannon before, one of the kind of good bits of news that Sheffield Wednesday have had recently is in signing a new deal. But I was reading that he might not be able to play tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the problem they've had is that they've had a pre-season that's been punctuated by these issues. They pulled out or chose not to play in the game last weekend, and they're struggling to put a side together. So it's great news from the Sheffield Wednesday point of view that Barry Bannon has chosen to stay with the club, but not much use at the beginning of the season when nobody's really fit and ready to play.
Yeah. Elsewhere, there's so many issues coming out. I mean, Rob Edwards is an interesting player, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Rob Edwards made at the right time. I think both sort of need to rediscover their mojo a little bit. 2 years ago, he was preparing himself as a Premier League manager. Fast forward 18 months, and he's been sacked with Luton, facing a double relegation. They've kind of lost their battle to keep with Hayden Hackney, and they've been fairly low key in the signings that they've made so far. Alfie Jones from Hull, Callum Britton from Blackburn. With the greatest respect, doesn't really set the pulse racing. But this is a team that still has quite a lot of good championship talent. Finn Azaz, Tommy Conway, good championship players. And this is a manager who, when he took over from Nathan Jones, Luton really took them to the next level. And you see Middlesbrough in kind of similar circumstances, lost their way a little bit. And I do think he laid quite good foundations there. But a manager to come along and the Reds. Now, their opposition this afternoon, Swansea City. Another interesting case in point, Alan Sheehan, fairly low-key manager, an eternal appointment last season, but off the pitch, things are really taking off at Swansea. Not only has Luka Modric become an investor, but Snoop Dogg suddenly emerges
So an
in the summer.
interesting midfield partnership, Snoop and Margaret.
It is, and do you know what? I love these random